going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back live this week. I know we missed last week, but of course, on this show, it's always Rob's fault. But it really was his fault because, not necessarily his fault, but it did.
My fault. It was adjacently my fault.
Yeah, it was more tertiary his fault because someone at his work called in sick, or I don't remember. He had to cover, and he had to go into work, so that's why there was no stream last week. And as if you didn't already know, or maybe you don't know, maybe you're joining us for the first time, but we used to do pre-tapes, but we decided that we're only going to do these live because there's something to be said about doing something live and in the moment. Even though our pre-tapes, they're pretty much what we do live. Because we don't on this stream, on this podcast, on this stream, we don't try to make ourselves look good. We just present, what we have, and and honestly, I don't think what we put out is all that objectionable.
No, I think I like what we put out.
As do I, and I just don't feel the need, and honestly, I don't feel the need to censor. For the sake of another person, because anyone can come to the stream and and hear something objectionable, but it might be a running gag, or it's just it's maybe an inside joke between me and Rob that we haven't fully disclosed to everybody yet. But I don't think it's nothing that I feel nothing that we put out is that objectionable.
No, I would agree with that. That's kind of a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But it's good to see you, buddy.
Likewise.
Yeah,
a little bit of hiatus, or a little, a week off, and then also we actually didn't get to meet up on Sunday this week because I was out of town. And then which we are gonna get into, tonight, along with the other stuff that we have planned for tonight. We have double the movie reviews, and we also have the double review for The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary.
No, I'm excited.
Yeah, these last two episodes are really good, 5 and 6. For those of you who
I was saying with the Jordan documentary, I think we get to learn. I think something that we never kind of knew before, but everyone was kind of curious, or they think they knew about it, but didn't really know.
Right. Yeah. We're definitely getting that space to get the fuller context of the situation.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Because at the time it was just very it was so pushed in that we couldn't understand the broad picture. But now with the benefit of time, we're now able to pull ourselves away from the moment in the situation as it was developing. We're able to see broader the broader story, and then kind of being able to see the timeline of things and seeing how the different events link together and either inform each other or kind of contrast each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So we had the reviews of The Last Dance, and we also had double up on the reviews because we missed last week. And for those of you who've been with us for a while and know what the score is, every month we have a theme, and this month is modern day black and white films.
And I think it's kind of like the way that we ended last month, which was our directorial debuts. We ended with a modern day black and white, so I think it was a good transition to go into this.
Very clever. Yes, and the movies that we'll be reviewing tonight are Young Frankenstein and Ed Wood.
Both great movies.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to spoil it too much for you. But before we get to that, I'm going to detail a little bit about my trip that I had this past weekend. Uh, just because on this podcast we like to be different. We don't we want this to be a respite from kind of like the craziness that's going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of craziness going on. And admittedly, we have dipped more than a pinky toe into those crazy waters. But even when we do, I feel that we're offering up a different perspective, uh, and offering a life preserver, in rough seas, as it were. Um, which you might not be getting, watching, like mainstream media or other like opinion channels and things like that. We might be similar, but to other more reasoned and more reasoned and thoughtful creators. But I definitely think we offer a perspective that's still unique to us and still applicable to a lot of people.
I think so too, and like I said, it's a. I think we provide a place where we can. Do we educate? Yes. Do we? But we educate, we entertain, we inform. But we also if you wanted to learn, or if you really wanted to kind of have continued updated coverage on what's going on with the virus or other kind of crazy stuff. I mean, that's happening on the news and other alternate news sources all the time. You can go and get that stuff, but we try to pick and choose stuff that is more something that we think is important that maybe not be that is not being discussed too much, or we try to do things that like I said, give people a break. Let's do something fun. And so I said I like what we put out. I think we make the right choices, Andy.
Couldn't agree with you more. So yeah, just to so sit back, relax, and live vicariously through the story of my trip this past weekend, which was very enjoyable. I went on kind of a guy's trip, but like with my dad and my uncle and my cousin and his two boys. We went up to the Mammoth Lake area, and we spent the
Beautiful
weekend
area.
together. Beautiful. It was actually the first time I've been up there where there wasn't snow on the ground.
Oh, wow, you've never been up there during summer?
Yeah, I've never been up there during summer.
Wow, it's
like the few trips that I have there, few trips that I've been up there, like it's always been during the winter. Even though there was snow, it was just very high up, in the highest peaks. But there still was snow.
Yeah.
Just wasn't a lot of it. But it was good. It was nice to get away from the city. Just get away from the hustle and bustle. It was a bit of a blessing in that when I went up there, I had like no data. Like in my cell phone plan, um, what is it? Which I share with my parents. Uh, we have a cap on the data that we're allotted between the three of us, and all the data was used up before this trip, so I couldn't be on my phone a whole lot, and the only time I could be on my phone was back when we were at the cabin, the rental that we were at, which because they provided Wi-Fi, But yeah, it was a nice break, you know nice break from all the madness that's that goes that's going around, particularly in the city that where we live. I will say that I was a little disappointed in, and this is the only bit of Rona talk that I'm gonna bring up tonight, hopefully. But I was just a little bit disappointed about like how many masks I saw while I was up there, and it was a lot. Um,
Yeah.
because I hear about people who go to kind of like red states or red areas, and they're not seeing that many people wearing masks. But now, like, especially especially since the mandate happened, there isn't a there wasn't a place that I didn't see someone not wearing a mask, I should say. Um, but I will note that a lot of people, like, because I made some trips to the local market up there, and I did notice a lot of people as soon as they got out of like the store, they immediately removed the mask, and so at least that was encouraging.
Right.
Because like even on the way up there, there's Caltrans, the signs that say like, oh, construction ahead, or police, or or police checkpoint ahead, like those like kind of
Right.
like digital signs. Yeah, they're all along the highways and the freeways saying like, oh, man, whatever city that we happen to be driving through, it was like constant like uh, mask, face coverings required, mask required. That was a little bit demoralizing. Because again, I did see a lot of masks, but then again, in like these smaller towns and like even up in Mammoth, as soon as the person got outside, it's like off with the mask.
Yeah. It's just that because my parents like it's funny because a lot of people have been going up where you guys where you went
Mm-hmm.
recently. My parents went up there. Another friend of our that's been on our podcast was up there, and yeah, it's like a lot of stuff was kind of restricted or shut down, but it's you still at least like outside of that though, it's just nice to be out in nature like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, me and my group, we went to go and catch fish, and we were hearing such good things about the area, and even from our buddy Matt Wade. He shared with me a picture that of a fish that his dad caught, recently on from his dad's trip up to Mammoth. Which got me really excited. And I shared my dad like, oh, look at the size of this fish that my friend's dad caught. And it's like, and
Yeah.
again, my dad got really excited, and he was really looking forward to catching some fish. But we threw our lines out in the water, and nothing happened, which is very disappointing. But even still, like there was no better place to waste time. Just the views are
Yeah. Right.
beautiful. Like I practically went to every lake in the area. I mean, not all of them, but a good number of them, just to try and catch a fish. And I think the best one was Silver Lake.
Yeah. It's
It looked
really
like
good.
it looks like a freaking alpine village.
Yep.
Like it looked like I was like in Switzerland, because like there's a nice. I was like there's a I was on the shore of the lake, and like this huge body of water, and then like you see like this huge beautiful mountain, and it's just rolling green hillsides. It was very picturesque.
Yeah. June Lake and Silver Lake are my favorites.
Yeah, I mean I went to Convict Lake, I went to Grant Lake, Silver Lake. I drove by June Lake, but it was just like so crazy, and we were like so demoralized. We're like, oh, let's just forget it. because we that day we already, that was the day we went to like, we went to Grant Lake and then we went to Silver Lake and then I forget the name of the other lake that I tried to go to, but it was just we were just so demoralized because we weren't catching anything and just so. But yeah, it wasn't until I got back and then our buddy Matt clarified to me that that his usual spot is Gull Lake,
Yeah.
and it's funny because we drove past it, but we didn't stop to do any fishing there. And so yeah. Although I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that nobody caught anything because technically, my nephew, one of my cousin's boys, he he happened upon a fish. In that his line got entangled with someone else's line, but they had long since like been gone, and so
Right.
the fish was attached to that line that was tangled onto my nephew's line, and so when he was reeling in his line, it pulled that line in, which happened to have a fish on
Wow.
it.
Now
Yeah.
that's some luck.
Yeah, exactly. That's a luck, and so so technically he was the only one to catch a fish.
He caught a previously caught fish.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. It's like what are the odds? And it was
Man, that fish had some bad luck though. It's like he got caught, got away, and then he got caught again.
yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty good size brown trout. Maybe a foot long.
Oh wow, so pretty good size.
Yeah, pretty decent size. I mean, it wasn't like because like the picture that Matt sent me, it was like a 19-inch trout.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so a foot, that's still pretty good. And
Yeah.
for being an accident, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so you got something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it's like so I retract my previous statement as like nobody caught anything, but it would have been nice if we were all able to catch at least one fish.
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
it's funny. Oh, I haven't gone fishing in so many years now. I think the last time I went fishing was I was in 11th grade, so long ass time ago now. But we found kind of a strategy where I want to say it was on June Lake, where we would always happen upon like these ducks that would come around, and so we'd always bring kind of like bread to throw out to the ducks, and they would run they'd run the course of the lake, and then in halfway through that we would catch a fish, and it's like okay, and then about like a few minutes later, ducks come walking back through and throw them out some more bread. We catch more fish. So honestly, those ducks were helping us catch those fish. I'm convinced.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's that. I've never heard of this strategy before, but I mean, if I knew about it, I would have definitely told like my dad and the rest of my parties like, hey, we need to go get bread right now.
Yeah, next time you guys go up there, you're on that boat. Make sure you bring some bread for the ducks. They'll help you out.
See, and that was the other thing because like we didn't go out on a boat. We just fished off the shore. And and like everyone I was talking to, they're always saying like oh yeah, they just caught like this big like 9-pounder. I was like, oh, but they were off on a boat. I was like, oh, okay. But and just like the logistics of having 6 people on a boat is it was just a little bit.
You'd probably have to rent 2 boats.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like those aluminum boats. We would needed 2 boats.
Yeah, for me.
Plus like it's like. Yeah, plus like if we paid for a whole day and didn't catch anything, it would have been a waste. But then like if we only paid for like half a day, then and we didn't catch anything, we would have felt gypped.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, me like I go out on the boat. I bring a book. I got my reel. Got some bread for the ducks, and yeah, and we were catching about a fish an hour for like about half a day. So we
Oh,
caught
nice.
quite yeah, we caught about
Wow.
like
Like,
I think like 10 to 12 fish.
wow. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's how I felt. Like, when I went, you know, on a fishing trip with my dad and uncle and cousin up to Vandenberg Air Force Base, because if you have a member of the military in your family, then they kind of let you on, um, and they actually have like a campsite there on the base, and so we went fishing at this one particular beach, and man, was it crazy! It's like we were catching fish like I think in total we caught like close to like 16 like fish.
God damn, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, that's 16 between the four of us. Yeah, that was like four. That was like four fish between the four of us.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, four fish a person basically. So
Now, when you go up there, like other than like fishing, like is there anything that you like to do? Like, is there anywhere like that you like to go, um, or is it mainly like the purpose of being there is mainly to just kind of like fish and relax?
yeah, fishing, particularly because it was all guys. We're
Yeah,
this was seriously a guys trip. It was like all we cared about is the fishing. It's just like
right,
we didn't like this is how little we cared about anything else. Like we made a shopping list for food. And we didn't bring a lot of essentials. Like we didn't even bring coffee.
wow,
I know, and that's how focused we were on fishing. Like no one really even missed coffee.
right, right,
We kept saying like, oh man, it was like early in the morning. It's like man, it'd be really nice some coffee. It's like yeah, I know, right? Like why didn't we put coffee on the list? Like I don't know. Like do you even miss it? It's like not really.
So, well, why I asked that, mainly because, well, I mean, there's a few like sites that I like to go to when I'm up in that
Mhm.
area. One in particular is the ghost town that's up there called Bodie. I don't know if you've ever been
Right.
there before.
I haven't, but yeah, I'm familiar with it. My dad, um, like either before I was born or about the time I was born, my family did a lot of traveling
Yeah,
around the United States, and yeah, and he would always tell me he's like, oh, we went to this place and we went to this place. Like as we were driving up there, he was like, oh yeah, I remember going to this service with your grandpa, or I remember going here with your mom, or I remember you're going with your uncles. It's like a lot of the times, again, I wasn't even born yet, or I was just too young to remember. Like,
right,
it's the thing. It's like the thing with the Grand Canyons. Like, there's pictures of me as a baby at the Grand Canyon, but I don't remember ever being at the Grand Canyon. So
right,
it's like, was I actually really there?
exactly.
Um, but yeah,
But
no.
yeah, I highly
Yeah, I think
recommend
if it was
going
like
up there.
if it was more of a family trip, I think we would have made more time to go do some exploring. Like the only real exploring that we did was the first day when we got there, and because our rental wasn't ready yet, um, because of the new like kind of stricter precautions that the rental management company was taking with the cleaning of
Right,
the
right, right,
rental. So before we even got into our rentals, we decided to do a little bit of exploring, and we actually went to Mammoth Lake, and kind of looked around, but we didn't like venture too far off. We kind of like saw the lake from the parking lot. It's like, okay, that's a lake, you know, and we noted that how like the water level was really low. I mean, I don't again because I've only been up there during the winter, so
right,
I've only seen it as frozen over. But even then, like the water line was much higher back then than it was when we went this past weekend. The water line was really low, and like the surrounding area, like all the trees looked like they were dead.
That's not good.
Yeah, like it looked like the trees looked as though you would imagine a tree after like a nuclear bomb went off.
Yikes! Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like yeah. So it's like I don't know if like there's some sort of disease or a fire swept through there. I mean, I don't imagine because they weren't black. They were stark white. You know, but
Ooh,
they
yeah.
look yeah,
That's a little. Yeah. So they're probably like dried out or dying out or something.
yeah. So it was a little bit. It was yeah. So it was a little bit eerie, but yeah. But I mean, the rest of the place was beautiful.
But yeah. No. I like I said. I highly recommend checking out Bodie. It's a real cool place. It's because I think that's really like one of the few ghost towns that we have in the U.S. That's like that. One of the, I mean, there's quite a few around the world, but this is kind of like our ghost town. So yeah, I think it's kind of like an interesting thing to check out.
Hmm. Is Bodie kind of like a Wild West ghost town?
So it was a gold rush town, or
Mm-hmm.
initially it was like a gold rush town. They had like a gold and silver mine up there, and the town, I think it was like right around like yeah, like I said, about the 1850s, and the town was flourishing and was starting to die out around the turn of the century, but there was people who were trying to keep the town going,
Mm-hmm.
and so they actually started building new buildings right around like the early 20s. And what really ended up finishing the town off was the stock market crash in 29.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of see like where the stuff from like from way back in the 1850s, and like how the town kind of like expanded and grew up until some of the newer buildings, which are kind of in like what's known, it's like this town that's in arrested decay, where it's just like people just up and left the town, and so you get like this kind of nearly 100-year lifespan that this town had.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like I said, it's a very fascinating place to go, and I always like, hey, if you're gonna be up in that area and you got a few hours to kill, check it out.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The closest thing to like kind of sightseeing, we did wasn't until the end of the trip actually on our way back, and we did a little bit of off roading, and
Okay, that's always
yeah,
fun to do too.
yeah, and luckily thanks to my new car, we were able to do it. Um, because my car is all-wheel drive and it has traction control. So yeah, I shifted into sand, and we were golden. What was it?
Nice.
It was the Alabama Hills, just south of Manzanar. And
Yeah,
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 kind of like in Lone Pine.
yeah. Also a nice area to go to.
Yeah, yeah, like going through that area. I th- I'm pretty sure that's where they filmed part of like the first Iron Man movie.
I believe you might be right on that.
Yeah, because yeah, like it's like the scene where he's like Tony Stark is testing out like the Jericho missile. Like
Yep.
some of the rock formations look familiar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it was beautiful country, and I was really glad. Uh, look, I was really glad I had the car that was
Yeah.
capable of going through the back trails and able to handle the terrain. Yeah, it was a real blessing, and I did snap.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was the one that was driving, so I wasn't able to snap too many pictures. But when we did actually get out to kind of like survey the landscape, I did snap a picture or two, and I actually uploaded to Instagram.
Yeah, I saw them. They look really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, just to wrap things up, even though the primary function of the trip was to go fishing, and I mean, other than that one kind of lucky catch, we didn't catch anything. I still think it was a good trip. I still had a good time with my dad and my uncle and my cousin and his boys. Uh, it was really nice because I haven't especially with my nephews, I haven't spent a lot of time with them. They're becoming young men, and
Yeah.
and it's not to throw my nephews under the bus, but I worry. Let's just say that I have some concerns, and
Yeah.
and I don't and I kind of wonder, maybe it's time, I got involved a little bit more in their lives, just as just for guidance sake. Not
To
and
give
again,
them an alternate view.
not this, and this is not a dig against my cousin. He loves his boys. He's doing the best they can, but
Yeah.
I just see some, maybe some rough patches that that I can help that I can help with. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
That I can lend a hand and help with the sanding. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a fun trip, Andy. I'm glad you were able to take it.
Yeah, no, it was kind of deserved, but also it was a blessing, just to spend time with my family. Particularly because the cousin I went with, we have there's a really vast age difference between us. And
Right.
growing up, he was one of the many tormentors of in my life. And but both seeing as how we're now both old men, uh, just the kind of having this shift in our relationship. Uh, it's been really it's been great. I'm really glad I got this time to spend it
Yeah.
with them and get to know them in a different context. No longer as my tormentor, but just someone as a peer. I know he's my family, and we grew up, and my older cousin, especially my older male cousins, they took the place of older brothers, and that's just kind of the thing that the older brother is the older brother kind of naturally tortures the younger brother, um, and so even though I don't have any, I didn't have any older brothers, I still got the older brother experience.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
All right, let's let's move on to the reviews. I forgot to bring this. I forgot to plan ahead and ask you about how you want to do the stack.
Well, why don't we dive into the Last Dance, and we'll finish up with the movie reviews.
All right. Okay. Good by me. So yes, we'll be reviewing episodes 5 and 6 from The Last Dance, and episode 5 uh, is mainly focused on Jordan's time with the Olympics.
Yeah, and honest, I love how it's all cut together, because the previous episode we really learned about even that more about the rivalry with Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, and kind of the Pistons and the Bulls, and like we talked about last time. It's people think like, it's not wrestling. These people, they hate each other
Right. Yeah.
to
It's not
this
a
day.
show. It's not a show. To sell tickets or to kind of to entertain. Like how Rob said, like in professional wrestling, where you have like the good guy and the bad guy, and they put on this show. You know, the fight between good and evil. This is like they literally hated each other, and like
Yeah, and it's like,
and like specifically with Isaiah Thomas, like you know he got under the skin of damn near everybody. It's
yes,
particularly those selected to be on the dream team. Like
well,
Magic.
that's
Him and Magic had beef. Him and I think Larry Bird had beef. Um,
yeah.
like the entire dream team had beef with Isaiah Thomas. So
And
it
see,
was no
that's a
wonder.
common, that he wasn't on the team.
Right. It should be no surprise. It's like because the common denominator was like everyone on that team had beef with Isaiah Thomas, even though Isaiah Thomas met the criteria, you know, and and what have you to
Yeah,
participate. It's just like and I think and I'm pretty sure Jordan said like, hey, if he's on this team, I'm not on this team. And I'm pretty
but see,
sure, all the other players that have beef with him said the same thing.
that's the thing with that, because everyone thinks it was only because of Jordan that Isaiah
Right.
Thomas was not on that team, but
Mm-hmm.
this documentary revealed that no, it was because you think with because the coach of that team was the coach of the Detroit Pistons, Chuck Daly,
Mm-hmm.
great coach. And so you'd think that like Isaiah, should be on the team. He's a great point
Right. Yeah.
guard. Like I said,
A shoe-in. A shoe-in. He should have. He ought to have been a shoe-in to make
and
the
who they
U.S.
went
team.
with was I think was it Christian Leitner, who was a college player at Duke, um, and I mean he was going to be drafted into the NBA, but he wasn't an NBA player at the time.
Right.
And but then you had Jordan, Magic, Bird, and a bunch of other a bunch of other,
Barkley.
yeah, Barkley, a bunch of other great stars, and but they all fucking hated Isaiah Thomas because he's such a dick. And don't get me wrong, I was a fan. I know I was a fan of the Bad Boys, the Bull
Right.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
the Pistons at that time. But even
Mm-hmm.
I can admit, it's like, yeah, he's a fucking asshole. Like, he's such a. But he was my dick. It's kind of
Yeah.
he was
Like, he
on
was
he was
my
my
asshole.
asshole. That's yeah. So you defend him, but for years and years and years, everyone thought like the only reason is because like that Jordan said like if he's on this team, I'm not on this team, and Jordan, they were looking for like all the sponsorships, all the money, all that stuff, and it's like if Jordan wasn't there, none of these guys are going to be there. It's like, but the reality was that a lot of those stars were like, fuck Isaiah Thomas. I don't want to play with him.
Right.
So, and honestly, and the other thing too is this is a great, with the competitive nature that Michael has.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, I get to play with like the best of the best, so I get to learn their moves. I get to learn how they
Right.
think.
Yeah. I
How
mean, it
that's insane.
like
That's crazy. That's not.
as much as Jordan would be, representing his country and playing with the best of the best. This was like his like opportunity to do like recon and like and play against people, play against his his future opponents, even though they're team members for this one context.
Yeah,
After the Olympics, like they're back to being enemies. And it's like, oh, so now I'll know, I'll be able to get inside their head, and I'll be able to really get a sense of like what their game is, so then I can use it against them, when we're
yeah.
adversaries again.
That's how smart Jordan was. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, okay, I want to win the gold medal. I want to, win for the United States. I want to I want the glory with all these guys, and I want the best players on the team. But at the same time, I'm gonna get in these guys' heads. I'm gonna figure out secrets about them, about their game that you can only get from being on the same team with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just another reason why Jordan is so awesome. The other thing about this in this episode too, and kind of like more insight into the Bulls and the tension between a lot of the Bulls players and the GM is on because they played Croatia a few times in that Olympics, and Tony Kukoc, a future Bull, at this time would be a future Bull, was being lauded by the GM as like,
Jerry Krause was doing a really piss poor job of like hiding his he just like went out there like, I think Tony Kukoc is one of the best players, one of the best prospects out there right now, and
and he was, and they fucking hated him for it. And so when they played Croatia, Jordan's goal was, we are going to humiliate this guy and make him look like a turd. Right. And in that first game, like they literally like
they lit him up. They lit Tony Kukoc up.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, I feel bad for Kukoc because it wasn't his fault. Like,
it's not like he was going out there like it's not like he was following Jerry Krause and like talking all this smack. He was just this kid from Croatia who had some skills. And he's like, oh wow, my skills are being recognized by this great American team. Or this representative for that team, and so it's like, oh, I should, I hope that it leads to something. But but Jordan, he used that as fuel to be like, say, oh, you think this kid is the next coming? Yeah. Watch this, and like, fucking lit his ass up again. Well, undeservedly, but in spectacular fashion, he schooled them.
Yeah, and it's like, welcome to the big leagues. And the constantly in this documentary talking about like how Jordan would come up with reasons to get him fire himself up. Even if like the reason was like it was all bullshit, like he would create reasons to get himself angry and to kind of like, okay, I'm going to take this guy out. I'm going to show him up, and we're going to beat the hell out of these guys. Mm-hmm. And that's, and honestly, that was just fuel to the fire. It's like, Kukoc, this guy is nothing. We're going to fuck him up. Mm-hmm. And they did.
Yeah. Right. But it was funny, though, because, he took that loss, and, that actually, energized him to do his best and put forth his best effort, which he did in I think the finals. I guess it were
the
gold medal in the Olympics when it ended up being USA versus Croatia.
Yeah.
And Tony Kukoc stepped up. He brought performance that's I think that really impressed Jordan.
Yeah, because honestly, a lot of guys probably would have folded in that situation. It's like, oh man, like it's like this is because you want to like play against the best, and you played against the best, and you had your ass handed to you, and it's like, wow, I guess I'm not good enough, and a lot of people crumble in those situations. But Kukoc believed in himself, and it's like, no, I'm a good player. It's like I'm just gonna, I ate it this time. I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna prove something, and he did.
Oh no, 100%. Yeah, he definitely proved his salt during that game. Even though they lost, and that year, the first year that they allowed, they had like professional athletes to perform and going against NBA players. It's just like, it was a foregone conclusion that America was going to win the gold in basketball.
Yeah,
but even still, Tony Kukoc brought it. He in that last face off against Jordan, he brought it.
But yeah, no, that was it was fun to learn a lot more about what was going on with the Dream Team, and not just like with the whole Isaiah Thomas controversy, but like all of that. Like, cause I didn't really know all that stuff about Kukoc and like how much Jerry Krause was lauding the guy, and that kind of like in a lot of ways Jordan used that as like, and the Bulls that were on the team used that as fuel to like, we're gonna fuck this guy up, and kind of like show Jerry Krause that he's an idiot, and and humiliate Kukoc.
Right, and right, but and it was also nice to see the camaraderie that was being built up behind the scenes with the team.
Yeah.
Like particularly the story about how they had that one practice, and they were just like really going at each other, and like and trash talking, and
yeah,
and and they were putting playing their hearts out in just the practice, with each other.
yeah.
Because it's like, when's the next time that we're gonna have like this caliber of players all together? So why not just go for it, and just almost have like street ball, where almost like anything went, and nobody's mama was safe. Nobody's mother was safe during that practice. But it's like,
No,
yeah,
it
like
was,
they were retelling the story, like once they got on the bus, it was like dead. After the practice, like they got back on the bus, it was dead quiet, and then finally, someone broke the ice and like, damn, that was a fun practice. And everyone just like kind of erupted, like in agreement.
Yeah, because they were pissed off at each other. It's like, you fucking, why didn't you make that shot? Ball, and then somebody would like, God damn, that was fun.
Yeah.
It's like everyone like started laughing, and yeah, it's just, I think even like the what was it, like, I think it was like the 2008 or 2012 team or whatever. That was kind of like a remix of the Dream Team, because after we got humiliated, I think it was against Spain, we like got bronze, and so we got like our big stars back, like I think it was like Kobe and LeBron and all those guys coming on, and we got we won gold again. But even then, it's like, yeah, those guys were good, but like it doesn't match up to like this team.
Yeah, the 92 Dream Team, it just there'll never be a team like that ever again.
No, it was, and I remember when that was going on, I was like, this is cool, like it's finally, we're gonna dominate the Olympics, and we did.
Oh yeah, but yeah, the caliber of players, and just like the mix of those players, we'll never see anything like it again.
No, definitely not.
And I even back I was like 92, I was like 8 at the time, and I was like I was barely paying attention to things like that, but I was definitely paying attention to that team that year.
Yeah.
It was just like wow. Incredible. The star power.
Yeah, and then the other thing that was kind of like that I had not obviously I didn't realize at the time, but like when they were getting the gold medal, kind of the iconic photo, you see like them all in the U.S. Uniform.
Yeah,
and you have Jordan with the American flag draped over himself. And the reasoning for that was because those uniforms were sponsored by like Reebok or Adidas.
Right, Reebok. Like, and when he had the contract with Nike.
Yeah.
And so and Jordan's a really loyal guy. I'm finding out through this documentary.
Yep.
He's super loyal, and like even though the uniforms were made by Adidas, and like one of the selling points was that like, oh, we'll get a picture of Michael Jordan with the logo on, but because Michael Jordan was so damn loyal to Nike, what you thought was, just an expression of, patriotic fervor, like him draping himself with the American flag, was really a business decision to cover up the Adidas logo,
Yeah.
the
Well,
Reebok logo, to show his solidarity to the company that took a chance on him.
yeah, exactly. And the funny thing about that is like, because a lot of people are speculating that because he was like Bucky, he was pissed off. He's like, I'm not wearing that uniform like in the picture because I'm loyal to Nike. Yeah, they're the ones that support me, and I'm not gonna wear this. And finally, like he's like, okay, well, you know what, I'm gonna do something that like makes them think like that they can't argue with. And so he draped himself in the American
Yeah.
flag.
Exactly.
So it's like,
oh, you hate America, bro? You hate America?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's like, that's awesome. I love that so much. That's
right. Yeah. Because it wasn't like it's not like he took like one of like he just took a shirt or a towel or whatever, but he draped himself in the American flag. So how are you gonna hate how are you gonna hate on the American flag? I mean, again,
exactly.
Nowadays it's rather easy and disgusting to do so.
But back then,
it's like there's a lot of things you can do, but say hate on America, that's not one of them. Which it kind of makes me sad to face that realization that back then it's like there's more love for the country.
Right. It was probably
back then,
like,
than there is today.
It was, yeah.
Right, and the ironic thing is, like, the most famous Black American in history, represented the United States.
And
and
Jordan,
then, and like now people, and people now are like complaining and saying how Black people are oppressed, or Black people are there's systematic racism, or whatever. But it's like in 1992, the most famous Black American athlete was a Black man.
And not even just an athlete. Jordan was probably arguably one of the most famous people in the country.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's hard to deny that. And if you look back, a lot of especially in the 90s, a lot of the stars were Black. I mean, Michael Jordan. I mean, Magic Johnson. He was like more like the 80s, but it kind of bled into the 90s.
Charles Barkley.
Malone, I mean, and just like
Jordan,
in entertainment too, like Will Smith. Will Smith, and then like Jaleel White. Jaleel White went to superstar status in his one appearance on the TV show Family Matters.
Yeah.
They fucking like his character was so popular. They made him a regular character. They
rewrote the show to make him.
They rewrote the show. Because the original pitch was this was like working class Cosby's, but then all of a sudden but because of the popularity of Urkel, they switched it and just made it to a straight a sitcom.
Because it was originally a spin-off of Perfect Strangers,
right?
And the what's her face? I can't remember her name right now, but her character's name. But the mom on the show from the Winslows, that it's going to be about her and like her family,
right?
And that and kind of Urkel was supposed to be kind of this goofy side character that was kind of be a couple episodes and then forget about it. But he was so damn popular that it's like crap. Like they rewrote the show and kind of made him the star.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And that was honestly, they had like maybe a couple of white characters, if.
Right, and it was the most watched TV show in the 90s.
I love Family Matters. It was awesome.
I know, right? TGIF.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like Family Matters was like the anchor, was like the show that anchored the Friday night lineup.
Absolutely.
And it was a predominantly Black cast. So
But
yeah. I mean, we got a little bit off topic here, but just kind of highlighting the kind of insanity that's kind of going on right now. I mean,
and then
but
well, obviously, like, in this episode too, with the Last Dance, we see a little bit of like how, because they started like to kind of talk a little bit about like some of the wagers that Jordan was making, whether it be through golf or just him being kind of competitive, like in kind of the
well, we're now. I think we're now shifting into episode 6.
yeah.
But yeah,
uh,
but like just to tie it in, like there was a great anecdote from Magic Johnson about when when they're in when they're in Spain for the Olympics, and they would play cards, and Jordan, if he was losing, he wouldn't let you leave until he beat you, and not
yep.
just like once, but like as many times as he got beat, and then some.
Yeah.
And whoops, and
Well, and then because there was another guy, player, who was saying it's like it was because there was different tiers of players, and so he would go and he would be at like the high end, like playing like the $100 or $1,000 games of like poker or whatever, and he would win there. But then he'd come over to like the other side of the bus, and it's like they're playing like 25-cent games, and he'd want to play with them too. It's like, what are you doing here? Like, why do you want to play with us? Like, I want your money too.
right, yeah, he's like, yeah, because he was like saying like, because like those guys who were like paying like 25 cent or like dollar a hand games, um, they were like why would you know Michael Jordan deign to play with me? And it was just purely like because I want to be able to say that I have your money in my pocket.
Yeah,
It's just like,
that's how
god
insane
damn
he
this
is.
guy.
Yeah, that's how like that's how competitive he is.
Right. And
Um,
but he's also, it's weird because like he's one of those types that needs an extra motivator.
yeah,
You know, um, not that he lacks motivation or anything, but he just it's the equivalent of like a nitrous burst or NOS, for when in a car. He just needs that little bit of extra to put to get him over, get him like a car length further than everybody else. And that that became highlighted. Um, was it 93 season or
yeah. This was kind of like talking about like, so this is going on around like their third run, to get the three-peat.
right.
And honestly, like the way that, like, because Jordan was, that's one of like the things, he did have kind of this like very clean image,
Mm-hmm.
but this year, like, for whatever, you could tell like a lot of like the way that the media talked about him, they were trying to like kind of take him down a notch, which is really,
Mm-hmm.
and what it's like some of the people were saying about him was really unfair, saying, oh, he has a gambling problem, all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the NBA even did like a whole investigation in on him to
Mm-hmm.
see if like he was betting on games, all that stuff, and which he wasn't. And but even then, like when everything kind of came, you could tell like it bothered him. It's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not like I'm not in debt. Like the money I'm using on gambling is like it's money that I can afford to lose anyways. And
Yeah, what is it? Ahmad Rashad. He was like saying that for Jordan, like betting like 10 grand is the same as an ordinary person betting $10.
exactly. So it's not
It's
like
like
he
he's
did
good for
anything.
it. It's like he's good for it.
Right, and I think the knock on it was like, oh, like he's getting in with loan sharks and the mob and all. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah. Those
what are you
these kind of
talking
like
about?
these like really reaching kind of statements. Um,
And
you know
it's
where.
it's funny because today, like, oh, God, some of like the sports journalism is so awful. It's just as bad as the our mainstream media. And I was saying,
Mhm.
like, man, I kind of miss like how sports journalism used to be. It was about the sports, but you look back, like even then, like kind of looking at some of the highlights, especially this Jordan story. It's like,
Mhm.
no, they were doing the same thing. It's just like
Right.
it's
Yeah. I think for guys like us, I think there's a bit of nostalgia about the past, but I think looking at this documentary now, having that distance and being able to see the broader picture, it's like nothing. It's like there's nothing new under the sun.
yeah.
They're doing the sports journalists back then were doing the same sensationalist or kind of the or having a bias even back then.
Yeah, and honestly, and, it makes me wonder too. Like, he was had a very clean image. He was kind of like, it
Mhm.
wasn't like he never really rocked the boat in a lot of ways. I mean, Jordan was on the court and like behind closed doors, with his teammates. Yeah, he was a competitive and he was kind of a dick. But
Mhm.
that's how you win
Right.
sometimes. And he's like you said, he wants to win, and he's not really giving a shit about people's feelings. But like off the court, he was kind of like the spokes guy. Like you wanted him promoting your product because he didn't have kind of a stain against him. He was a very clean guy, seemed to have his life together, and and I think that pisses a lot of people off. So, you know what? I'm a journalist. I'll just make shit up. And yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I'll use a bit of the truth that he does gamble and stuff, which a lot of athletes do. And it's just kind of like they liked when they're not competing on the court, they want to compete with like their fellow teammates or in some other avenue.
Mhm.
And to kind of just make these allegations and stuff about like, oh, he's doing this and he's doing that and he's in debt and he owes so many people money. It's like that's just wrong. That's evil. And a lot of it is a lot of these what were I would say that I think a lot of them were like these white reporters that probably didn't like that he was the popular one and kind of the wanted to bring him down a notch. Kind of like how today we have like a lot of these lefty white you know reporters and activists who are lecturing black people about like how they're not woke enough. It's like what?
Right. Yeah. It's like
Hey, let me tell you something about racism, buddy. It's like what?
right. It's like that clip of that woman who excoriates the black police officers.
Yeah,
Saying like, oh, he's like, racism is my problem. I gotta let them. It's like, I gotta let them know that that it's not okay. It's like they're part of the problem. I'm the one who's trying to teach them. It's like, do you not hear yourself? How fucking racist you sound? It's like, oh, like I'm the good person. I'm a white person. I'm good. So I have to tell these fucking idiot black people that they're on the wrong side. It's like, am, what?
yeah, and that's honestly, I feel like that was kind of like what was happening to Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, abs- that,
Yeah,
that an
now
argument could be
I
made.
now I will say when he finally did give an interview to Ahmad Rashad, he probably didn't win any points by wearing sunglasses in the interview.
Right.
Made him
Yeah. Yeah, it made him look a little. I mean, he was wearing shades, and it just made him look shady. You know.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like that's kind of like a lot of the oh man, I'm really fucked up, or like I'm on
Right. It's like a
I've
dope
been up.
smoker or someone who's been doing crack for like 72 hours straight.
Yeah,
You know, and
well,
they
gambling.
got like the really like they have the bags under their eyes, and they're trying to hide it or whatever. Yeah, so the glasses didn't help his case, but it ultimately didn't hurt him
Right.
in the long run.
But I think honestly, all of it like really wore Jordan out. It's like, come on, I just want to focus on playing basketball. I don't care about this stuff. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. The allegations are dumb, and it's just the media coverage. It's just fucking relentless. They ask the same fucking question every goddamn time. And it's like, just okay. One of my one of my favorite because all sports this happens to a lot of sport. There's a lot of just terrible sports journalism. They'll
Yeah, a
ask the
lot of
same question
yellow
over and over and over.
journalism.
Huh?
A lot of like yellow journalism.
Yeah, but they'll ask the same question over and over and over and over again. And in on the NASCAR world back in the day, one of my favorite drivers was Tony Stewart, and he was notorious for he would give the media so much shit, which is great. And one of these times is there was a reporter, yeah, he answered the question. Then the next reporter asked him the same exact question, like verbatim. And he's like, well, I'm going to refer you to the last reporter that you talked to. So why don't you go and take a look at his notes, see what I responded to, and then there you go, you got your answer. Like, or and honestly, I think but Jordan was he didn't do that, but you could tell yeah, he wanted to tell these people, hey, go fuck off.
Right.
It's
Yeah. Yeah, you could just see in his face how done he was with the same questions over and over again.
yeah, it's tiring. It's annoying.
Right? Because it's because because sometimes he's not he doesn't necessarily see the same reporter all the time, so it's he might be getting the same question from one reporter and then go to another thing, and a different reporter will ask him the exact same question.
Yeah.
So it's it may not have been coordinated, but it was just I'm sure it's just the kind of the strain on on one's mind and sanity will start showing some cracks.
Yeah.
It's and it's only natural. It's only natural. I mean, similarly, I kind of feel for the Trump's press secretary in kind of in that similar way, because I've seen some of I've seen some of the press briefings, and I've also seen some of the highlights, and it's just questions that these people ask. It's just so beyond. That's how that is I really wonder how the hell does she keep her composure and not call them out all idiots. Straight to them. I mean but again, but to give her credit, she does have an elegant way of backhanding them without actually backhanding them.
What
which
is
I think
it?
is great.
One of the funniest things was what is it? Andrew Clavin talks about he thinks of her. It's oh, it's great. It's like watching a dominatrix just whip I almost want to see her in a leather teddy just whipping these guys into submission.
Whoa! All right. I think Andrew Clavin's revealing a little bit more than we think about his specific fantasies.
But when he said that, I was I about died. I was are you? I was wow, okay.
Yeah. No, but yeah, but back to Jordan. Yeah. So there's nothing new under the sun.
And, yeah, nothing new under the sun. That really showed me a lot, and this when we talk about next week when we talk about the next episode, you're gonna see really it gets even uglier, the media coverage against Jordan, and honestly, it made me mad to today. And it's wow. But the fact that he was able to still despite his fatigue, his frustration, everything surrounding him, he was still focused on winning that championship, and we all know it happened. He won he got the three-peat, and
Right.
that's hard to do.
No, yeah, I mean, because again, everyone's seen like the double, everyone's seen the repeat, right? But no one has seen a three-peat.
Yeah.
And and the only other time that happened was with the Lakers in the early 2000s. And the common denominator there is that the coach was Phil Jackson.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, until someone does
other than that, like, because the only other time, like, that was like kind of before the modern era of basketball, like, because I think the Celtics from like the 50s won a whole bunch in a row, but like modern era, like, yeah, the Bulls were the only ones to do it, and then then the Lakers did it, and Phil Jackson, I think, is still the only coach that he has three three-peats.
Wait, three-peats?
Yeah, because you have the 91, 92, 93, 96, 97, 98 with the Bulls, and then the run with the Lakers.
Wait, what was the first three?
The first three were with the Bulls. Then he had the second three with the Bulls, and then he had with the Lakers.
Oh, in the late 90s. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, he's in a class. Yeah, Phil Jackson's in a class of his own.
Well, he's the best. To me, he's the greatest basketball coach ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, no doubt. There's like no doubt. Yeah,
and he's also the last guy to win the championship with the Knicks.
That's right. Oh man. Oh, that's right. Oh my God. Yeah.
Anytime I can bash the Knicks, it makes me happy. Fuck the Knicks. I hate that team so much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like in episode 6, they do talk about the rivalry with the Knicks as well. Because the Knicks adopted kind of like the Detroit defense model for the Bulls.
Yeah. And to be honest, they did that mid 90s New York Knicks team was actually pretty decent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They could never.
That was the last time I remember them like even being relevant. Because I mean, nowadays just like they're even though it's like New York City, they're wholly irrelevant in the culture.
They're awful.
But like in the 90s, I still saw people like wearing like Knicks jerseys or Knicks like kind of gear. But now it's just like Knicks who?
Yeah, like I said, they were a relevant team. They were kind of in a lot of ways they were a little bit like the Suns, where they just could never quite get over the hump in their conference to like kind of I mean the Suns did it once in the 90s, but like they were good, they were relevant, they were tough to beat, but they never could quite get over the top.
Right.
I love these episodes, man. Like this is I learned so much.
Yeah, no, it's like watching your favorite VHS tape back in the day, and then actually like looking on the back to see like what the director like what all the other like little information on the back was.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah, this is
so.
So definitely a good All right, let's.
So if you haven't seen those episodes yet, go and watch them.
Absolutely, really, especially these these last two episodes. I really enjoyed these last two episodes.
Very, very revelatory, I'll say.
Absolutely. Great $5 word there.
I gotta throw them out every once in a while. In a while.
Yeah, yeah, come to the Nocturnal Transmissions live stream. we have
We'll
good
teach you
time here,
vocab.
and we
Yeah, well,
we teach you vocab. It's like, all right, you need a tutor for vocab for SATs. We're the stream for you.
definitely.
All right, let's get to the last bit of on the agenda for tonight, and that is our movie reviews. And just to
Oh
remind you
yeah.
again, this month's theme is modern day black and white films, and the two movies we'll be reviewing tonight are Young Frankenstein and Ed Wood. And I think we'll just do it in order. So last week we were supposed to do Young Frankenstein, so we'll start there. And
You're gonna
let's
give
start off.
the synopsis.
Yes, I will give the synopsis for everyone, so we're all on the same page. Respected medical lecturer Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, or how he initially pronounced it, Frankenstein, learns that he has inherited his infamous grandfather's estate in Transylvania. Arriving at the castle, Dr. Frankenstein soon begins to recreate his grandfather's experiments with the help of servants Igor, Inga, and the fearsome Frau Brucker. After he creates his own monster, new complications ensue with the arrival of the doctor's fiancée, Elizabeth.
I love this movie. Not only
Oh
well,
no, this
hey,
is
it's
great.
just
This is great.
it's hilarious. But to me, one of my favorite movies is the is Frankenstein from the 30s with starring Boris Karloff, and this to me is kind of a spiritual successor to that movie. Like this, if it could be a sequel in a way to that movie. Just the way that it's filmed, kind of like it's playing off as like a descendant of Dr. Frankenstein, who is kind of like he's like changing his name a little slightly,
Right,
and
there's
kind
like
of
he's trying
distancing
to
himself.
disassociate himself with his famous relative.
Exactly, and that's it. That's where I'm like, that's kind of like it could be um kind of like in a way a sequel of Frankenstein. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was a very clever way that Mel Brooks kind of did this film. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really like how he put it together.
Yeah, I did too. Like, cause like the way it was shot, the way like they do like the transitions, it all
Mm-hmm.
kind of it all kind of lines up with how
Right.
like how they originally when they originally made this movie and like kind of like the genre, because a lot of people might criticize. Well, I noticed it, but I'm bringing it to light in a good context. But a lot of people might see like some of the kind of tropes of that early filmmaking and kind of ding Young Frankenstein for it. But I think it enhances the movie because it's keeping to like the like almost the limitations that they had back then. Because like they because a lot of the older movies like they had like a lot of like weird transitions or like weird uh,
Right.
non sequitur kind of lines that don't really go anywhere. And but but again, I think they use that in a very clever way as as not as being not it's not lazy is what I'm saying. It's very intentional, which I think a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
people which I think a lot of people who aren't versed in like film like cinema history or kind of like the filmmaking process wouldn't understand.
Yeah, and I think like if you, especially if you've never seen any of those films from like the 30s
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like understand them, I think that when you watch this, you kind of miss the subtlety and kind of the honor that is being paid to that style of film. And like you said, like something like the just because it's these somewhat throwaway lines that are just so funny. Like when Dr. Frankenstein meets Igor for the first time, he's like, "Oh, I'm a doctor. I can help you fix that hump on your back." It's like, what hump?
Right, yeah, it's just what is it? Marty was it Marty Feldman? Man, that guy is.
Yeah, I think that's who it was.
Yeah, he's he's a he's a what is it? Comedic actor, like genius.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, yeah,
Or you
I
had
mean, him and Mel Brooks have been long been collaborators, but just he's a comedic, like an acting comedic like genius. Like I don't think he, like, his timing is perfect, his delivery is on point.
Oh yeah. It's this movie straddles the line from being hilarious yet serious at the same time.
Right. I think, yeah. one of my favorite scenes in the movie is it's just after they create the monster, and they knocked it out, and then they put him in like a cell and they chained him up, and then the young Gene Wilder's character, the young Dr. Frankenstein, says like, "Oh, I'm gonna go in there, all right, and I want you to lock the door behind me." And I was like, under no condition, no circumstances, no matter how much I beg, do not open this door. It's like, do you understand? It's like, yes. And then he goes in there, they lock the door behind him, and then the monster gets up, and then like he immediately freaks out, it's like let me out. It's like, don't you know a joke when you hear one? Let me out.
Yeah.
And then like, and then as soon as he realizes like the door's not gonna open, he like completely like downshifts, like, "Hey there, handsome." It's like, "You're a handsome fellow, you know that?"
Yeah.
That's my absolute favorite scene in that movie.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like
it's so simple too, because it's like the setup is like, don't open this door no matter what, no matter how much I beg and scream. It's like don't open the door. Move to the next part. It was the next part where like he flips it, and then he starts doing the very thing that he said, like, that he, like, even if he did, don't open the door, and then it's like he's left with no choice but then to like pivot again. It's like, and like kind of recant what he just said, his reaction to like this hideous monster. And it's like, "Hey there, handsome."
Yeah. Right. The funny part, like, because that scene, or like that kind of that line, like, under no circumstances you ought to open that door, has been used. That that's kind of that cinematic archaeology that we love. That's been used in other, a lot of like animated series and like other, like other movies and stuff that that are the comedic films and stuff. And it's like, but this is where it comes from. This is God, it's just that scene just kills me every single time I watch it.
Yeah, me too. That and whatever Frau Brooker's name is said, the horses get spooked. Yes. Yeah. Oh, and we're in this movie. I think we're introduced to a young or younger Gene Hackman in maybe one of his first like comedic roles.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people like might know Gene Hackman for like his more serious stuff, but he's done comedies.
He's an interesting actor. Like he's a funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously he's probably most notably known for stuff like The French Connection, The Conversation, a bunch of other stuff, but like he has some movies where it's like he's a funny guy.
Right. Like what? Like I think one of the other like really funny movies that he did was The Replacements.
Yeah,
He was great in
that
that
was a
one.
really funny movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And and like him playing like the blind priest.
Yep.
I,
Yep.
I thought it was great. Kind of like subverting like the whole subverting like that. This I think there's a similar scene in like the original Frankenstein, isn't there?
Because there is, I believe so, and it's been a while since I watched the original, but I believe there is a scene where the monster does go with someone who is blind, that like is and like the villager helps him unknowingly,
Right.
and so like I said, a lot of this movie pays honor to the original, to Frankenstein,
Right.
which
like the
is like I said,
scene, like with the scene with the little girl, like in the original one, like the little girl, gets murdered by the monster, but in this one, she's she's hilariously catapulted from a seesaw into her into her bedroom, with her parents like frantically boarding up the front door and windows, and it's like saying, "Oh, where's the kid? I thought she was with you." It's like maybe she's in her room, and then they go upstairs to check her, and at that very moment, she's catapulted by the monster into her bedroom, and then she lands safely in her bed, and then the parents find her, not asleep, and it's like, kind of like relief.
Right. Yeah.
Subverting that entire original scene.
Yeah, because that scene in the original film is like, it's kind of like a dark moment, and this is kind of like a way to like bring some levity to the situation, and it's like I said, this movie kind of does a great job of straddling that line between hilarious, over the top slapstick and seriousness, and kind of bringing those two together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is Mel Brooks, man. He knows how to do them.
This is probably my favorite Mel Brooks film.
Same. Although, no, I take it back. It's a tie for me with Blazing Saddles.
So my top three of Mel Brooks films are Blazing Saddles, The Producers, and Young Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like, because they're all three of those are kind of like in my like top 20 movies, and it's like these ones seem like always kind of like, no matter, like, let's say like we had done The Producers again, I was like, you know what, no, this one's my favorite one. It always seems to change between those three, but I would say Young Frankenstein is just it's so good. I love this movie so much.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't have anything else to say. Oh wait, no.
No,
another really great scene of mine is when the doctor's fiance is abducted by the monster, and they they get it on, and then she's supposed to be this she's kind of a tease. In the early scene, you see her, and like the doctor trying, Dr. Frankenstein is trying to be very affectionate towards her, but he she won't allow him to like hug her or touch her hair or like kiss her on the lips. And like even like even though when she blows him a kiss, he like Dr. Frankenstein blows back to her a kiss, and she like she ducks it real, she dodges that shit like the Matrix. And then But then like yeah, the monster abducts the fiance, and they get it on in a cave, and like she's so smitten by him. When she like when like the monster like runs away. I forget why he runs away. Uh, was it because the villagers found them or?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and so yeah, he flees because the villagers find him, and like she's like, she first goes through like the cycles of crazy for a woman, where it's like,
Yeah.
at first she's like, it's like, oh, it's like, no, please don't go. Oh, it's like you better not tell any of your friends that you pervert. And then it's like, oh, I hope he calls me. Kind of like, kind of the steps of like crazy that women go through.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
It's like first like first like to like love and affection, then to hatred or and suspicion, to then back to head over heels crazy for.
It's like that Joan Jett song, like "I hate myself for loving you."
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this movie was great. I really enjoyed it.
It's always honestly like any chance I can get to watch Young Frankenstein again, I try to take. So I was really like when I thought of this idea, it's like, oh well, this is the first film I thought of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, well, I'll start off with like my rating.
All right.
I mean, for me, this is five out of five stars. It's because like I said, it's quick witted. The casting is great. Gene Wilder is Dr. Frankenstein. Is I love Gene Wilder. I think he's a really good actor, and him and Mel Brooks, because they do a
Yeah,
lot of
I
work
know. I
together.
know a lot of people think of Gene Wilder as kind of like this lighthearted or whatever, but he definitely has range.
Yeah, because you look at like something from like just from both they're both comedies obviously, but you look at like this movie compared to The Producers, those
Hmm.
are two completely different characters.
Yeah, exactly.
And uh, and like I said, he's a great actor. He's very funny, but he does some like serious stuff too. Like um, it's I love him as an actor,
Hmm.
and um, yeah, the other thing I like about this movie too is, like I said, it pays honor to Frankenstein, which is one of my favorites, and it kind of like it you could see like they were putting themselves under limitations to kind of make it look more like a sequel to Frankenstein. You could tell that,
Right.
and I really liked that kind of like the way that they went with this film. It was really good.
I completely agree with you, and I'm even gonna agree with you on the rating. I give this a 5 as well. You know,
Not yeah.
it's just it's any other rating. It's like you weren't watching the same movie as I was.
Exactly. It's just too good not to get.
Right.
This
Because
is a
like
must watch.
even on like the technical level, because like usually I ding movies for technical stuff. Um,
20 minutes.
but the technical stuff is part of the charm of the movie, and what makes it great because
Yeah.
they're being so faithful to their original one that they put in like the limitation, like how you said, they put in the limitation, they limited themselves, and because of that they were able to create something that you know if it's not the spiritual successor, uh, then it's it could be an outright sequel to the original.
But yeah. So 5 stars. Watch it.
That's right, you heard it, folks. And a very rare uh, 5-star rating.
We don't hand those out very
Yeah,
easily.
we don't. Yeah, it's rare that both of us are on the same page about it. and and we and we give those out. So yeah, if it's not on your list of must-watch movies, then put it on there. Put it put it up. Put the damn thing at the top.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, let's dive into our
All
last
right.
movie.
Yeah, last one of the night, and then we'll be done. And that is Ed Wood. And here's the quick synopsis. Because of his eccentric habits and bafflingly strange films, director Ed Wood is a Hollywood outcast. Nevertheless, with the help of the formerly famous Bela Lugosi and a devoted cast and crew of show business misfits who believe in Ed's off-kilter vision, the filmmaker is able to bring his oversized dreams to cinematic life. Despite a lack of critical or commercial success, Ed and his friends managed to create an oddly endearing series of extremely low-budget films.
This is Johnny Depp was perfect for this role as portraying Ed Wood.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know Ed Wood, like he made a lot of shit for like shit movies for cheap. I mean, because it was not about necessarily the money, but it was about like it was being passionate about filmmaking and wanting to make films and but yeah, obviously he didn't have any money, so he had to like kind of just do whatever it took. It's like, oh, all right, one take, good, boom, we're done.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
And
like
because
kind of had
the
the Sinatra take or position on takes, and it's like just one and done.
yeah, and plus with film costing as much as it did,
All right,
it's
the
like you didn't have
development and
time
things
to
like
like
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, you didn't have time or the money to like be able to buy that much film reel. So it's like, okay, well, we'll just oh, that was perfect. Let's do that. And his most infamous film that people know him from is probably Plan 9 from Outer Space, which obviously gets talked about in towards the end of this movie. And it was the last. It starred guys like Tor Johnson, and who who was one of the leads. Who his English is so bad, it's like it's kind of like what the hell is he saying?
Right, which they yeah, it is meant. It brought up in the movie where like the two Baptist what is it producers.
Preachers, yeah.
Yeah, like well they're they're funding the money, so that makes them producers. But they're they would say why does he have all the lines? He's barely intelligible.
Yeah. And then it was also it was the last film to have Bela Lugosi in it,
Right.
albeit for like that scene.
Yeah,
that
it was like it was posthumously.
Yeah, it was posthumous, but it was that's the last scene that Ed Wood films of him. That was his actual house.
Right.
When you watch Plan 9, that was Bela Lugosi's actual home, and yeah, that was the last scene that he ever filmed for a movie. And that's honestly that was the part to me that I don't know the complete truth of all of it, because this is a biopic of Ed Wood, but
right.
The thing that intrigued me most about the movie was, the connection between him and Bela Lugosi, who I love Bela Lugosi too. Dracula is one of my favorite movies. He's a Hungarian, so there's that connection.
Right.
But Lugosi, kind of like a lot of those early, golden age of Hollywood stars, and he was unfortunate with his accent and like the type of roles that he took. He was typecast. He was always kind of like the monster, and kind of like it was a little bit like not quite as much like he wasn't as rich and famous like our character from Sunset Boulevard, the silent film star, but yeah, like a lot of people to the point like where people thought he was dead because he kind of just disappeared, and
Right.
the reality is he was a drug addict, and so he lost a lot of his money, his everything that he had worked for and gained, and so, but like Ed Wood loved him so much that it's like he not only gave him purpose again, and like he treated him with dignity and respect. Yeah, he would put him in like shitty movies, but at the same time, like he was like, it wasn't out of like, it wasn't making fun of Bela Lugosi. It's because he
Right. He
loved
didn't.
him.
Right. It was a true respect and veneration for Bela Lugosi. He
Yeah, because
yeah, because
he
he like
believed he
yeah
should still
again
be in
yeah
movies.
right. He like it was like a bit of like his devotion was was full and eternal. To
Yeah.
this actor. And yeah, he true. And I truly think that he had an abiding respect and love for this man. And so yeah, he might have put him in some shit movies, but he never degraded the man.
No, definitely not. And like you said, it was all out of like respect, and he, I think like I said, that connection between those two guys was really, it was kind of touching, because honestly, like everyone's like, Bela Lugosi, isn't he dead?
Right.
And
That was a constant refrain. It's like he's like, isn't he dead or he's still alive? That
it's
was kind of
like,
like
oh,
the
he's very
refrain.
much alive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta say that this movie, I was very charmed by this movie.
Yeah, I was too.
It's there. Yeah, I mean, for me, Tim Burton. Um, I wouldn't say he's my favorite director, uh, but there's a lot. There's a lot of hit and misses for me with Tim Burton. Obviously, I loved his
Yeah.
Batman. Um, I loved Beetlejuice. I loved Edward Scissorhands. Um,
Yeah.
His Sweeney
But
Todd.
this,
His Sweeney Todd was was a little less than desirable.
yeah.
And his Planet of the Apes wasn't like that great, even though now I'm like having new appreciation for it. But
Right.
it wasn't that great. But yeah, this movie was, I think, right in his wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Like that kind of
it wasn't a
quirky, off, like how it describes in this uh, synopsis, like kind of off kilter. So yeah, I think it fit
Yeah.
his sensibilities.
And yeah, and the thing is, like, I think because Plan 9 from Outer Space, like, it's shit. It's a terrible movie, but it's one of those movies that's so bad it's good, and it kind of like it gave people a new appreciation. Like, there's a whole a whole group of people who are Ed Wood fans, and this movie kind of I think was for them. And yeah, it wasn't a commercial success, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a bad movie. But it just kind of like, it highlights some of like the, how some of these films kind of got made, these kind of famously bad films that Ed Wood made, and kind of like the guy like never stopped working. Like he's like, I got like 7 movies planned. Like, we're gonna do, Bride of the Atom. We're gonna do, like Dr. Acula. He had all these ideas in his head, and it's like they were all shit. But like the guy worked his ass off for what he was passionate about, and I have a high amount of respect for that. It wasn't about being pretentious or trying to send a message. It was just about doing what he loved.
Right. Yeah, and he just wanted to tell a story. It didn't matter
Yeah.
what the story was. As long as as long as it either came from him or he could tell the story.
Yeah.
That's all
And
that
then, it's
matters.
like,
And then and arguably he created like the like the whole like like B or C, C movie, which now, like,
Yeah.
that's actually in recent history it's become almost a trend to do, kind of ironically, like you had Sci-Fi Channel, have like those god awful movies, but like the one that like became like this cultural thing was Sharknado. Kind
Yeah,
of
oh,
in the
dude, yeah.
kind of in the same vein as like what Ed Wood was doing.
And honestly, guys like Ed Wood and like some of these other like guys that made these shitty films.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why we have like shows like Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Riff Tracks, like, which I
Right.
love. It's
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I recommend for you and for you, Andy, and for everyone out there, like, if you want to watch Plan 9 from Outer Space, watch the Riff Tracks version. It's like it's great, and it's it's really funny. Um, but yeah, like, it's I think a lot of people, like, yeah, we wouldn't have movies like Sharknado, which were so popular. It's so bad it's good, if we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have Ed Wood.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, but I was surprised at how charming this movie was. Um, and but in a weird way, even though I was really enjoying this movie, I was kind of watching this movie, and I was like, this movie would probably never be made today.
Nope.
I mean,
Especially,
given like the, I mean, back then controversial, you know, idiosyncrasies of Ed Wood, and who would they want to like play Ed Wood today? It wouldn't fly.
yeah, you had the whole like thing with like him being a cross dresser,
Mm-hmm.
um, and there was a what was it like when he asked out Vampira,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I thought you were a fag. It's like,
Yeah,
oh
right.
no, I'm very much into girls. I'm just a
Yeah.
transvestite. I
Right,
love
right,
girls.
right. Yeah, yeah.
It's like, I nearly died with that line. I was like, are you?
Yeah, or when he was like explaining to that one executive, like why he would be the right person to film or to make the movie. Like, I
Yeah,
changed my sex or whatever. It's like, oh, well, I like to dress in women's clothing. It's like, what? You just like some kind of fruit? It's like, no, I like girls. You know?
yeah, exactly. Um, and even like when he met like his what ended up becoming his girlfriend and future wife,
Uh-huh.
she was like, when he was telling her like that he likes to dress in women's clothing, it's like, does that mean you don't like sex with girls? It's like, no, I love sex with girls. It's
It's like very much so.
yeah. It's just like, and you have like all the friends that he has around him, or like you have the guy that's like Bill Murray, the character that he played. He was talking about like he was getting all the hormone treatments to become like he had all these like crazy
Yeah, and he was
cast of
like he
characters
was
that were
gonna
around him.
go to Mexico to get this exchange, but
Yeah,
he ended up not doing it, and happy that he did.
yeah, but it's just like little stuff like that. It's like, yeah, it probably would not get made today, but it's like it's so funny. Like, it's just because Ed Wood and like his cast of like friends that he had around him, they were just oddballs, and they were
Right.
funny.
Yeah. Absolutely.
One of my favorite scenes from this that like it made that that I died, because the guy who plays Bela Lugosi, Martin Landau, does a fantastic job. He
Oh
portrays
yeah,
Bela Lugosi really well.
there were times where I'm like, is that actually Bela Lugosi? Like, no, but he
He
died.
did. He definitely channeled Lugosi really well,
Yeah.
and the funniest line is like when they're watching Vampire on TV, like because they're watching Dracula, and Vampire was kind of like she was essentially Elvira before Elvira came about. Kind of
Right.
like the host of these monster movies
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But that was what Vampira did. They were watching Dracula, and like Edward's like, God, I wish like she like wouldn't interrupt the movie so much. Like I really wanted like I was really getting into it. It's like, but man, and then Bela Lugosi chimes in. It's like, but man, what a set of terrific jugs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was fascinating. At the end, they kind of do like where are they now kind of thing for each of the characters, and it was funny to learn that Vampira actually tried to sue Elvira for stealing her stick.
Yeah, that's the
I mean,
yeah, she tried
it
to
was
sue Cassandra
unsuccessful.
Peterson. Yeah.
Yeah, it was unsuccessful, but I was kind of confused when she initially came up, like when she initially came on, like Elvira. It's like, but no, it's like they called her Vampira, and it's like, oh, okay, so she probably came first, and then I put it together in my mind that she came first, and then Elvira came over like, and took over, or she took over, or like she outright stole the concept.
Yeah, that would be kind of like interesting to look into that story of how like Elvira's origins and like how or if it was kind of like an inspiration. It was being inspired by Vampire, or it was just an outright just like kind of stealing that act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, although Bela Lugosi was right, she had a nice set of jokes.
Yeah, she did. But yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It was like I died laughing when I.
Or about when they went to the premiere of the movie and that kid just runs up,
grabs her breast.
Yeah. I forget what he says, but
they were talking about the next day. It's like, I envy that kid. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, I was like, I wonder how many takes that took.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know. Was there any other like scenes or like things about it that you found interesting?
Well, the scene where they're about to be baptized, and
right,
and what is it? Like the chiropractor doctor, the other guys, he's like, yeah, I don't really see it, and then like he covers his face, like, he's like, oh yeah, now I see it. Yeah, from the face up, it's like, yeah, but say that Boris Karloff is a cocksucker.
Oh yeah, it's like that was the Boris Karloff smashing in this film was just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it was again a little, kind of like the Where Are They Now at the end, where it's revealed that Bela Lugosi's memorabilia goes for more than Boris Karloff's stuff.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with Ed Wood and kind of bringing him, some sort of like some dignity, at the end of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of helped him get clean, and helped him, kind of like I said, they weren't good movies, but the thing is like Plan 9 from Outer Space it's one of those films like people. It's a bad movie, but like everyone watches it. It's so Bela Lugosi will continually live on, because of Ed Wood, and probably has gained more fame because of that.
Right, because it didn't matter like the quality or the prestige of the project. It was just him just being constantly out there.
Yeah.
And staying somewhat relevant, or staying like within the zeitgeist. And so and there's and I'm starting to think that there's no that linear time is it's not really a thing, but it's more of like there's cycles.
Yeah.
And I think in the macro sense and also in the micro sense. So a person, I think will go through cycles or seasons or whatever you want to call it, where there's an up and a down. There's a start, but then there's a round back to the finish.
Right.
So I think in that same way, I think Bela Lugosi was given one last chance, another chance at fame, I should say. Because who knows, in another like few decades or whatever, it might come back. It might come back, and Bela Lugosi will be, on the minds and lips of people again.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. Like, he, unfortunately, he always had a very thick Hungarian accent, so it kept him from some of the more, prominent roles that Karloff got and like some of these other guys, but that didn't mean like he wasn't a good actor, because he was a great actor. Like, you look at Dracula, like, he acted with his body movement, his face, and the guy was good. And I mean, he's done some other films that like people probably don't really like know about, but he's a good actor. He has good range. It's just his accent, I think, got in the way a lot. And and because Dracula was so popular, he got typecast, and that was everyone. Only people wanted him for like monster movies and stuff.
Right. I guess one last thing that I'll bring up is kind of like the cinematic archaeology. And I don't know if you're familiar with that old TV show Scrubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so you might know where I'm going with this. But the character of JD, he had he constantly is trying to pitch this idea of a movie called Dr. Acula.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like I didn't fully understand until I watched Ed Wood, where
Yep.
and that was that was the genesis, or that was the origin point for that joke.
I figured, because when I first watched this movie, I was like, that's where that came from. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. It's like especially when he was like trying to pitch it to like the studio exec. It's like Dr. Acula. It's like, yeah, Dr. Acula, like Dracula. It's like, oh, okay.
I hate it.
Yes, I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it. Oh,
anything else you want to add?
No, it's just more. I'll let you. I have nothing else to add, just other than like watch this movie and watch. Honestly, watch Plan 9 from Outer Space. I think watch the Riff Tracks version too. Like I think you guys will enjoy it.
Okay, strong recommendation. But it was so hilarious at the beginning of this movie. After the stage performance that Ed Wood puts on, and like him and his crew are at the bar, like waiting for the review of it to come out, and then the reviewer calls Sarah Jessica Parker's character a horse face.
Horse face. Oh, I was like, I forgot about that. I nearly died.
Me too. Because that's what she's called in real life.
Yeah. And that was like her days, like when she was much more attractive.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that was hilarious. And I like the review too, where it's like just like that upbeat hopefulness of Ed Wood. It's like, well, I've seen worse reviews. I mean, like, look, he said something about like the costumes were very accurate and realistic.
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
Most times like, they don't talk about the costumes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he finds like the one like kernel of corn in shit. It's like.
Yeah. All right, Andy. What's
I thought that was hilarious and like a little bit meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if like face. What was it?
I loved how they called her horse face in this film. It was great.
I know. I was like, oh my god, how much did they pay her for her to read that line? or actually say it. I mean, I would imagine it's like I'm sure she's aware of like the criticism, about her looks or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, how much did Tim Burton pay her to say that line?
Oh man. All right. So what's your rating for the movie, Andy?
All right, for me, I'm gonna give this a 4.
I think it's funny. We're in agreement tonight on our reviews. I had to give it a 4 too.
It's so rare.
I know it's weird. But no, like I said, I like how they cast the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that it was done in black and white. I think was a good touch.
Mm-hmm.
I like the interaction between the characters of Ed Wood and Bela Lugosi, and Johnny Depp and Martin Landau had really good chemistry, I thought.
Oh yeah, no, it was great.
And it was just a fun, yeah, it wasn't a commercial success, but this is a fun movie. And
Right.
if you're a fan of like film history and you want something a little bit off the beaten path, and Ed Wood is kind of the guy. He is the kind of the guy that created the B movie genre,
Mm-hmm.
and he turned out pounds of shit, but like it's but there's a lot of it. It's kind of like a nice look in movie history, and you kind of get an idea of what his mindset was like. And yeah, I think if you love movie history, this is something a good movie to watch.
Agreed. All right. Well, that will do it for us tonight. That was our review of Ed Wood. Both Robert and I give this a 4. Um, I think you'll dig it. So this is recommended for sure. Movie. So do yourself a favor and check it out. Also, check out the movie that Ed Wood made, Plan B from Outer Space. And also, I trust Robert, so check out the riff track version
Yeah.
of
The Rift
this.
Tracks version of Plan 9 from Outer Space it's great. You get the greatness of how bad Plan 9 is, but the guys that are riffing the movie is just it's great.
Yeah, so do yourself a favor and check it out. I mean, if you're in California, what else you got to do? We're locked down again, so
Yeah,
you
exactly.
might you might as well. You might as well.
Might as well.
All right, folks, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. ish Pacific Standard Time. Uh, don't forget to check out the library of other shows. We got the Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter at PodcastCOJ, Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast, and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us. Let's do it again next week.
Sounds like a plan, Andy.
Later.